Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting of Fremont Unified School District on May 9th, 2018. First, let's pledge allegiance to the flag. Student board member, please lead us the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Please be seated. Ms. Sandoval, can I have the roll call, please?
Trustee Shao,
Present.
Trustee Burke,
Here.
Trustee Campbell,
Here.
Trustee Sweeney, Trustee Crosby,
Present.
Student Board Member Imaduddin,
Here.
Student Board Member Palace Chow.
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Wallace, could you introduce your staff, please?
Yes, sure. On my far right is the administrative assistant to the board and superintendent, Patty Sandoval. And on my left are Dr. Raul Zamora, assistant superintendent of human resources, Dr. Denise Herman, associate superintendent of instruction, and Mr. Raul Parangao, associate superintendent.
I would like to apologize for the delay of the start of the resumption of the regular meeting because not only we had an unexpected long list of speakers before the closed session, we also had a long closed session. So sorry about the delay. Superintendent Dr. Wallace, do you have anything to report on action taken in closed session?
Yes, I have 2 reportable actions. It's always a pleasure to be able to introduce new staff to the district, and we have 2 new director positions that were vacant that will be now filled. And so I'd like to read the appointment and then have the individuals come up and share a little bit about their joining us. So on a motion by Trustee Crosby, seconded by Trustee Campbell, and a vote of 5 ayes, the board voted to appoint Kim Kelly as the new Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Kim Kelly, if you can come on up.
Push on the base of the phone.
It says push.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got it. All right. Board of Trustees, Dr. Wallace, and members of the Executive Cabinet, I want to thank you for offering me the opportunity to serve as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. The C&I department has a wonderful, dedicated staff, and I'm so pleased to join them as we continue our work on behalf of all the students in Fremont Unified School District. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our second appointee, on a motion by Trustee Sweeney, seconded by Trustee Shao, and a vote of 5 ayes, I would like to invite our new Director of Special Education, Francis English, to join us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's all very new. I found out last night around 5 that I had been selected, so very grateful for the opportunity to serve the students of Fremont. This morning I was telling my children, I got a new job, and they said, didn't Papa used to work there? I said, yeah. So my father retired after 37 years here in the district, so I'm very excited. This is home to me, so I'm excited to come home. I was also sharing that my first job as a teacher was here in Fremont as a substitute 29 years ago. And for those of you who are really young, in the old days, they would call you up on the telephone at about 5 a.m. And sub-callers were inherently happy at 5 a.m. So my first job in the district, I went down to Washington High School, and I had my little lunch. I was all ready, and I was all dressed up in nice shoes. And they said, oh, did she not tell you what you'd be doing? And I said, no. No, it's a job. I love jobs. So I went into the room, and the nice assistant principal opened the door, and I looked in. I said, "Oh, there's no furniture." And he says, "You don't need any." And it was a dance class. So for the next 3 days, I thought I was a dance teacher. I didn't do much, but the girls handled it. No boys in the class for some reason. I hope that's changed in 29 years. So anyways, thank you so much for this opportunity. I look forward to working with this amazing team that I've heard nothing but good things about. Met a lot of friends in the lobby, people that I knew, but I didn't know until tonight that I knew them. And so I really appreciate this appointment. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to starting on July 1st. Thank you.
Oh.
Dr. Wallace, it's you again, Superintendent
It is,
report.
it is. My message tonight is in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. I do want to publicly acknowledge that we are in a state of mediation process that requires confidentiality. So I'll honor the privacy of those negotiations and only say that I have confidence that the bargaining teams are committed towards working towards a settlement. I know that the process has been truly difficult on all costs, but I don't want to miss an opportunity to share some sentiments around Teacher Appreciation Week. So tonight I would like to share a personal message about the impact of teachers on my own life, a life that I literally owe to two teachers who met at Castro Valley High School in 1960, and my career to dozens more teachers. My parents both taught at Castro Valley High for 34 years apiece while my sister and I were growing up, and we both became teachers ourselves. There have been many teachers who have touched my life. Mr. Goldstein and Miss Lapel, who both still teach at Castro Valley High, are two standouts that made a somewhat rebellious and lost teenager believe in herself and see that she had something worthwhile to add to this world. And so I truly just honor them tonight. This spring, each trustee and I meet with a group of high school students from each of the attendance area high schools, and we listen to their experiences in FUSD, ask for their input, and have a chance to just learn from one another. Every night that we go out, I ask the students, so what are your best classroom experiences you've had in Fremont? When asked, those faces light up and answers eagerly spill out. Though the responses and examples are diverse, there are some common themes. It's the teachers who care about students personally, spend time helping them learn, engage their hearts and minds, and make them feel like they matter. In short, they all point to the people who they connect with, feel inspired by, and are enlightened by. Teachers don't always get to hear how they change a student's life after they've left their classroom, but I assure you that your students will always remember you. To the teachers of Fremont Unified, I thank you on behalf of the students. I also thank you on behalf of the board and the administration. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Student board member, please provide your report.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Palace Chu, who will be serving as next year's student board member. She'll also be the president of Surfboard E. So round of applause for Palace. Now some updates for schools in the district. The prom season is now ending. Kennedy just had its last student stress-free week, and Washington High School also hosted a Powder Puff football game. This is SBAC testing season, so a lot of high school students, junior high school students, are taking their SBAC tests. And this is also AP testing season. AP test dates are established by the College Board and cannot be changed by high school administrators. And so this is a time where all students across the nation are taking their AP tests. I also wanted to shout out the city of Fremont, the mayor signed 2 proclamations, one in awareness of the National Children's Mental Health Day, which is May 10th, 2018, and in recognition of Children's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. So I really appreciate the city of Fremont for taking an initiative step in signing this proclamation for student mental health. Surfboard E's new team has been picked, and we will be presenting the annual State of the Surf at the next board meeting. Thank you.
Well done, student board member. Next is our consent calendar. I was made aware of several speakers for the consent calendar. Before I give the floor to the board members for any motion, I would like Ms. Sandoval to call on those public speakers.
Victoria Burbeck Herrera for item 11.1. Ivy Wu for item 11.1. I have Ms. Burbeck Herrera again for item 11.2 and 13.3.
Good evening, trustees and district staff. I'm Victoria Burbeck Herrera, the FEDTA president. And as you consider the approving of your triennial plan for serving our expelled and high-risk students and the placement for students that have IEPs, our individual education plans, I just would ask, as you start this evening with us on your regular agenda, that you consider that educators are pretty much in every single piece of what you're doing. And with the case right now, this is a perfect example of something that we have to deal with in Fremont Unified that is serving and working with our neediest of students. When we continue to not show value to our educators, it's actually an equity issue when we might not otherwise think of that. But it is always, and this is true nationwide, not just in Fremont, but it happens to be the neediest students that go without qualified teachers. It is the schools in Fremont that have the lowest test scores, for example. Those are the ones that have the highest teacher turnover because they're the most challenging work environments, so they already have the highest number of new teachers. And it's also the special education classrooms, as you're well aware right now, that go without teachers. So the couple classes that we've had, actually long-term sub after long-term sub, and we finally now in the spring were able to find a special educator at our last elementary school position that had 4, this is not just 4 substitutes, but 4 long-term substitutes placed, as well as countless other substitutes placed. And when we don't have a qualified special educator, those IEPs, which are incredibly lengthy, difficult documents, not only to write and uphold legally, but then also have the special educators that are going to be in the classroom servicing those IEPs, it's an incredible task. And then we had a situation where just long-term substitutes in that classroom, not only are the students not receiving the services, we have teachers, other special educators who are not only teaching their classrooms, but also writing IEPs for that teacher who's out. So we then have students that are really at greater risk. And the longer in our school district that happens and we have special education positions unfilled, students with IEPs become more and more at risk. And then this is kind of the extreme of that. So I would just ask that you see everything as a big picture, as you must as trustees, and to consider the value of educators in this school district with an ongoing raise. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ivy Wu. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. And I just want to thank the board and staff for giving many of our at-risk students a second chance by referring them to Robertson High School. I especially want to recognize the administrators, teachers, and faculty members at Robertson High School for doing such a fabulous job assisting the students to earn high school diploma, to be college and career ready, to develop vocational skills, and develop personal growth in a truly caring, friendly, safe, and supportive environment. May is the Teacher Appreciation Month. Fremont Council PTA has been keeping up the tradition to organize breakfast or luncheon for Robertson High School staff by collaborating with the schools in all 5 attendance areas. It is so good to see our school community coming together in support of Robertson High School. On that note, I would also like to take the opportunity to invite all board members, staff, and everyone watching us on live stream, and everyone sitting here to attend the Fremont Council PTA Parent Workshop this Saturday, May 12th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at American High School. Mayor Lily May will be our keynote speaker. The workshops include bullying, effective communication with your child, raising children in a challenging environment. That workshop, it will be in Mandarin Chinese. The event is free and childcare will be available. We want to thank Trustee Michelle Burke for referring us to American Sign Language Agency so that the event is available to the hearing impaired participants as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak on this item. Thank you.
Good evening again, Victoria Burbeck, President of FUDTA. So on this item that you're about to approve to enter into an agreement with the intention of filling another type of special educator position. So I just want to refer you to what is already in your packet and again bring that back into the base of how if we are valuing our educators and helping it be sustainable for them to be here and attract them to be here, that I'm hoping you'll see that this will solve a lot of problems that Fremont Unified is having. So the current status as described, that you've allocated to be able to have a certain number of school psychologists, and it says, despite posting, we've been unable to fill the position. So you're now you're looking outside and you found a school psychologist outside in a private agency. And what tends to happen there is in contract work, you're going to have someone who isn't accustomed with Fremont Unified, who isn't generally as affiliated with the staff and our students, and they do certain pieces of work, but they're not accustomed to working in our public school setting. And the reason that you are doing this is because you cannot fill the position of psychologist, which is again in our Educators Association. And so I ask you to please consider showing that you value educators as you say that you do by offering an ongoing raise and helping to solve a lot of the problems that you're having. Thank you.
Isn't this a person that's been working with us already and has been working with us for a while? And this is just an extension of her contract. This is 11.2. I'm guessing this is the Ms. Burback Herrera. Was this 11.2?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
All right, now the board would have the floor. May I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Any second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, I would like to ask board members if there's any item you would like to comment on.
Dr. Shao, my apologies. Ms. Herrera is also here for 13.3.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun. Okay, 13.3.
Thank you. Victoria Burbeck Herrera, President of FUDTA. So on this consent item for certificated staff, you're going to approve the personnel actions. And again, I just want to refer you to what is listed already in the packet under background. So you will have in there all of the personnel activities. Of specific note that I hope that you will consider looking at would be resignations, the request for leaves and retirement. It's noted that they're routinely submitted. So certainly this is something that you're accustomed to receiving, but I would like you to, in your own time as needed, look at the number of resignations and retirements that are occurring this year. And by our estimations, you're going to have to fill approximately 10% of your certificated staff. for next year. It's a lot, and well above what we would think the turnover should be if we're hoping to make public education a lifelong career, as we hope that it is. We don't want it to be that turning wheel where people only work a few years at a time as public educators, because that's not what's best for Fremont students. So we hope that you will consider that. But I also want to draw your attention to the fact that it states that you are to receive requests for leaves. And we had brought this up before, as you had heard other educators state that they had requested leaves and been denied. And after looking into it, the school board is not receiving requests for leave. You are only receiving those that have already been approved by HR. And if this is supposed to be accurate, I want to make you aware that you are not receiving all of the requests, that HR is denying requests without letting you see them. And so just to be clear that if it is in fact the school board's determination that there are certain reasons to deny requests, that your certificated staff would like to hear that. And then perhaps you could change that so that it is reflected accurately if this doesn't actually show that you're receiving requests. Thank you.
Okay, with no more public speakers on the consent calendar and a motion and a second on the floor, I would like to find out whether board members would like to comment on any specific consent calendar items. Trustee Crosby.
12.5.
12.5. Anyone else? Okay, Trustee Crosby.
I just want to make sure that we have it clear that this was not a signed lease agreement in conjunction with the city, correct? This was just a resolution that we had previously approved without actually ever going into the negotiation with the city.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with no more comments, and with a motion on the floor and a second, let's take a vote.
It is open for your votes. The motion passes unanimously.
Now we would start the oral communication by inviting public speakers to speak on items that are not agendized tonight. Ms. Sandoval, how many cards do
I
we
have 41 speakers tonight for oral communication.
And is it agreeable to the board members to have 1 minute per person for this part?
Can we know how many speakers we have on other items so that we know whether or not?
Yeah, I mentioned that simply because we already started late, but that piece of information would also be useful for the board to decide.
Okay.
Good point.
Okay, I have 11 speakers for item 15.1 ELA.
Mm-hmm.
I have maybe 1 or 2 for 15.3 and 60 for 15.4. 60.
So roughly we will have over 100 speakers tonight.
Is it possible for some of the speakers, instead of coming up one by one, saying the same thing, to group up, to team up, so that we could get through this sooner? If you're speaking on the same topic, that you might be willing to team up, that would make it easier for us to get through this tonight. Is that agreeable to the
Well,
board?
I think it's agreeable to the board, but in reality, we have tried the same piece of advice on the audience, and sometimes it's very hard for them to get organized in the last minute, considering they may be scattered in different rooms, and then or even
No, I understand. We have overflow? Well, we don't have an overflow today. Okay. Well, I understand. I'm just thinking about the fact that for our last 4 meetings, we've gone to 2 o'clock in the morning. and we do have a board policy that we're supposed to be done by 10:30. So does that mean that we don't take any other items tonight? We just deal with all of the ones, I mean, we don't want another 2 o'clock in the morning meeting, is what I'm hoping that we not have to deal with.
As a
So-
matter of fact, we do have a heavy schedule.
Right.
So is it agreeable for the board to allow 1 minute per person, 2 minutes per group for the oral communication and on the agenda items?
Well, can you take a look at the regular agenda items and see of what we have we can table, so that we can get to all of the speakers if they want to do 1 minute apiece? And we got 60 on one, and I mean, that's 40 minutes in one and another hour on another, and it's 8:45 now. Perhaps we can
Yeah, we can
table some other
certainly
stuff.
do that during our first break, which is probably after our oral communication. We can do that during the break.
Okay.
All right. So each speaker for this oral communication would have 1 minute per person and 2 minutes per group. And Ms. Sandoval, could you announce the names of the first group or first 10?
I have Emily Chang, Esther Lau, Julie Dunkel, Linda Delaney, Diane Jones, Lori Manuel, Cade Amon, Maya Granera, Sarah Hyde, Marilyn Singer, Anfeng Wang, Carolyn Burke.
While the speakers are lining up, I would like to read the statement regarding public comment. The board respects the right of the public to comment on board matters. Speakers are limited to 1 minute in tonight's meeting. Speaker cards must be submitted to the administrative assistant before the item is called. Speech or conduct that is disruptive, threatening, abusive, or defamatory is not allowed. Employees who are defamed are entitled to pursue legal action against those who engage in such speech. At the discretion of the presiding officer or board, anyone who disrupts the meeting may be required to leave. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. Let's have the first speaker.
Oh yeah, the light's on. Okay. Hello, my name is Emily Chang, and I think it's important to note that this decision about sex ed affects first and foremost the students. So as a student, I have to let you know that I am incredibly disappointed about the board's decision, because my best friend was repeatedly sexually harassed for all of 9th grade by one of her peers. But she didn't come forward because she didn't know what constituted blatant harassment. With comprehensive sex ed, she would have known and been more willing to tell administration. And the boy who harassed her would have had a better idea of what boundaries are and how to respect people. This all could have been prevented. The decision you made might pave the way for countless more unfortunate stories like this one. I hope you know that as a future voter, I will keep all this in mind and hold you accountable for your actions in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Dunkel, and I'm here to speak about Board Policy 6154. And my understanding of that is if a student is out for 4 days for illness, that they have 4 days to make up both test and assignment. I have a few questions that I'd like to respectfully request that the board answer in writing. Number one, can a teacher give a test on days 1, 2, or 3 before the student, without student's approval? Number two, does this policy include assignments and tests? A teacher says that it only includes assignments. Number three, is there an error with the current wording in the policy? An administrator said that the policy is not written correctly and it needs to be reworded. Number four, if a teacher writes in a syllabus that the student has to take the test the first day back, does that override the board policy? And number 5, whose responsibility is it to know this policy? The teachers, parents, or students?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Kate Amon. My husband and I have lived in Fremont since 1995, and we are both voters, as is our 20-year-old son. I am outraged that you pulled 4th to 6th grade sex ed. The children need the respect lessons of consent. The number one cause of rape is rapists. The children need to know the rights to teach them how to get help. Silence and shame only hurts children. I don't speak of this abstractly. My older sister was raped by older kids when she was 9 years old. If those boys had learned from a young age about consent, there's a decent chance that rape might not have happened at all. Or my older sister would not have kept it as a secret for so long, but gotten the mental health she needed to heal. As is, she remains alive, but mentally broken to this day. Essentially, I lost my older sister, so my family paid a steep price for the lack of 3 R's education. And there's a certain movement called Me Too.
Thank you very much.
Betrayal will be remembered.
My name is Lori Manuel, and I grew up here. I went to Niles Elementary, as did my dad and my brothers. Went to Hopkins Junior High and Mission High School. I returned to Fremont after going to UC Berkeley. Today, my partner, Beth Hoffman, and I commit to work with Sharia Westra and any other teacher at Niles to ensure there are books available at Niles Elementary which provide young LGBTQ students and young girls positive and supportive role models. We will provide as many books as are needed, either for the library or in each classroom. As a historical footnote, May 2010, almost 8 years ago exactly, the Fremont School Board rejected a resolution which would have recognized Harvey Milk Day. Harvey, as you know, was the first openly gay elected official. Now, in 2018, this school board has once again chosen to send the same hateful message to the LGBTQ community. You simply do not matter. I contend those of you who voted 3-2 in 2010 and now in 2018, you are on the wrong side of history.
I feel a little bit like Santa Claus. My name is Linda Dulaney, and I'm a parent of a student educated in the Fremont Unified School District. I'm also an active volunteer in our community. I'm donating these books, which are on the list of approved reading for Fremont Unified School District, to the school libraries and classrooms of the schools my son attended. To Briar Elementary, I'm donating Heather Has Two Mommies and the Magic Misfits. To Walters Junior High, I am donating Better Nate Than Ever and 567 Nate. And to Kennedy High, Girl Man's Up and Georgia Peaches and Other Forbidden Fruit. I'm donating these books to show support for our LGBTQ students in the wake of last week's board decision that sent a terrible message that the comfort of those people objecting to the sex ed curriculum is more important than the health and safety of all of our students. I'm also donating books on behalf of Tara
Thank
Tara
you.
Henry's family.
Good evening, board members and fellow audiences. My name is Esther Lau, and I go to Hopkins Junior High School. Tonight, I would like to bring to light an issue regarding opting out. Students face an overload of stress when they choose to opt out. Students who choose to take the 3-hour curriculum gain extra credit for the work they do, while the students that do opt out are forced to do an assignment taking much more time than assignments given in the health ed program. For example, for the first 2 days of the 3-hour curriculum, only a crossword puzzle is given. However, students opting out must read, outline, draw, and even compose a 5-paragraph essay. The school says that this is to keep the opting out students busy, but the health ed opt-outs are only 7th and 8th graders, and presenting all this work will cause them to stress, possibly even forcing them to want to opt back in. This situation is easy on neither students nor parents. The law of AB 329 states that pupil may not be subject to disciplinary action if they are opting out. Therefore, what the opt-out program is doing is directly violating the law because it's academically penalizing students who have been opting out. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Marilyn Singer. The summer before students enter 7th grade is a time they shift from thinking of themselves as children and begin to regard themselves as teenagers. It's a time of experimentation coupled with impulsivity, and often consequences are not considered. The day these upcoming 7th graders start to interact with older students in junior high school is a time when they need the facts provided by sexual education. Besides, when you begin transitioning 6th graders to middle school, this will be more necessary. Right now, we will be sending 6th graders on unprepared to interact with older peers. I am asking that you place an agenda item on soon to discuss my suggestion to at least implement the 3 R's curriculum in 6th grade with possible modifications to some of its most graphic illustrations. I'm now going to go off script. I used to teach in Fremont Unified's Young Mothers program, where it was for pregnant teens. But there was one child who was 12.
Thank you.
Need I say
much.
more?
I'm Diane Jones. I attended the joint meeting with the city on Monday, and I don't want to repeat the data that I shared, but I do want to share 2 key points. 28% of our 7th graders disagree or strongly disagree that FUSD schools are safe for LGBTQ students. These are students in our schools. 49% of our 7th graders hear LGBTQ slurs often or sometimes, and by 11th grade, that number jumps to 59%. Our district has a responsibility to provide an affirmative obligation to combat racism, sexism, and other forms of bias, and a responsibility to provide equal education opportunities. These are civil rights issues. We are in jeopardy with civil rights issues in this district, and the actions that the board took last week only compound those problems. This is a serious issue and needs to be addressed by the school board and the city jointly. I'm donating books tonight to send a message like others to our students.
Thank you.
Our next group is Lena Yin, Radhika Shan, Meena Naveed, Simon Lau, Selena Shaw, Chris Drake, Marsha Squires, Lucy Shen, Stefan Wooding, Sean Chen, Beth Perez, and Monique Manharis.
Oh, we have 2. Hi. Yeah. All right. Hello, I'm Lucy Shen. This is Lena Yin. We are both MSJHS class of 2013. I don't have any, I just have some bullet points I want to go over. I have a lot of feelings. So, you know, we're wearing green, we're holding the sign. You know, we're not happy with the decision that happened last week. I just want to reiterate that one more time. And I have to say that I know a lot of people are saying it's just 1 year, like it's not a big deal. It'll come back next year. But honestly, like the same thing is just going to happen again. Like we know this curriculum committee, they spent 3 years getting this ready. The new working committee is going to spend 1 year and we're going to vote yes next time? Like really, I find that difficult to believe. Anyways, we will be holding anyone who voted no accountable. And also, while we're on this topic, there were some very, let's just say, offensive and ill-advised remarks that were made by certain board members at the last meeting. Some board members have apologized for it. I personally didn't consider that apology a real one because you said, quote, "I'm sorry you feel that way," which, you know, is textbook non-apology. So I really would, you know, the ask is very simple, very simple. Just, we all have room to grow. I just want people to recognize that there are things that needed to be learned, that the comments themselves have to be recognized as inappropriate and hurtful and exclusionary, and admit those comments come from a place of ignorance and commit to learning and improving. Like, we know you're not perfect. There's room to grow, and we know you can do it. So please, it's not that hard. Also, board member Sweeney, you called out some of the bullying, but I just wanted to say that the way you worded it was a little bit victim blamey, and I would appreciate a little bit more compassion and outreach. I appreciate the thought very much, but yes, just a note. Thank you. Also, we're donating books like everyone else. We're valuing trans identities, non-binary identities. These are what they are. We got to fill the knowledge gap somehow. Thank you.
Good evening, FUSD board members and FUSD staff. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I would like to take this chance to thank my son's teacher, Mrs. Bucknegra, at Warm Springs Elementary. First, I would like to thank the board and the FUSD staff for their tireless efforts to hear us out and understand our concerns. We arrived at a compromise at our last meeting by suspending the sex education for the elementary level and by going ahead with the 3R curriculum in middle schools. It's really painful to see that our community stands divided today. It's a wrong assumption that goes with that we concerned parents are against the LGBTQ community. It's not that. We are only concerned about some portions of the curriculum which we feel is too much too soon. I want to take this opportunity to make them understand that we want to work together to weed out our differences. We want a fair, diverse task force.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stefan Wooding, and this is Kyle Navarro. Is it on? Okay, it's on now. So my name is Stefan Wooding, and this is Kyle Navarro, and I'm here to talk about diversity. So part of FUSD's mission statement is a desire to equip students to succeed in an ever-changing world. Yes. Mission San Jose High School, which I attended, Go Warriors, expands on this as preparing students for a culturally diverse global community, and that's a statement that I'm really proud of. So May, in addition to being, many other kinds of months, is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And in honor of that, I would like to mention just some of the diverse identities of the Asia Pacific region that our students should be prepared to interact with. In Polynesia, there are Fa'afafine in Samoa, Mahu in Hawaii, and Bakla in the Philippines, who consider themselves apart from men and women. They are often spiritual leaders or caregivers in their community. In East Asia, there are performers of Peking opera and Taiwanese opera. They have centuries of tradition of non-conforming and often fluid gender and sexual expression. In South Asia, there are many third gender identities, including Hijra, Aravani, Tirunange, Kajasara, Koti, Tirumbani, Jogapa, Jogata, and Shiv Shakti. In India alone, the 2014 census counted almost 500,000 third gender people. Gender variation in this part of the world is as old as the epics of Hinduism, but vibrant even today, as transgender people recently gained legal affirmation of their rights in Pakistan. In order to celebrate a culturally diverse global community and participate in it, we must be able to navigate complex identities in ourselves and others and understand diversity as a source of strength. At last week's meeting, board members were not equipped to do these things, not only for people in Asia and the Pacific, but right here in this room. Members of the board demonstrated misunderstandings of diverse gender and identity experiences in ways that were disappointing and disrespectful. Therefore, as we move forward, I request that school board participate in training provided by Gender Spectrum, which is available at several of our elementary, junior high, and high schools, so that they are better equipped to create gender-sensitive and inclusive environments for children and teens. This should happen before the next curriculum is considered, because ignorance is not an excuse. Thank you, and I'm here to donate books with transgender protagonists.
Thank you.
Testing. Okay. Hi, my name is Sean Chen. I am not a Fremont resident, but I count many Mission San Jose students among my friends, and I'd like to register my extreme disappointment as well with last week's decision to postpone sexual education for 4th through 6th graders. And I'd also like to address my own community, in particular, the Chinese American community. I know that a lot of the pushback came from our parents and our community, but we can just take a look at the students who have showed up today to fight for their rights for inclusive education and know that you cannot possibly, you can't cast this as someone else's problem. This is LGBTQ kids exist in our community and they deserve respect and education that fits their needs. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris. And first I'd like to say happy birthday to Dr. Shao. He's 50 years old, I heard through the grapevine. So, First, I want to start by thanking the board and the district staff members who made the May 2nd meeting possible. All of you are true public servants in the great American tradition. I'm personally grateful for your commitment to serving the people of Fremont until 2:30 a.m., no less. First of all, I want to clear something up. During the May 2nd meeting, I brought up the subject of a conflict of interest with Tri-City Health. After looking into the matter more closely, I learned that Trustee Campbell's interest in Tri-City Health does not represent a conflict of interest, and I commend Trustee Campbell's dedication to both education and community health. So it's unfortunate that our community is still divided even after you provided a compromise solution to Fremont. But I would rather provide light a candle than curse the darkness today. So moving forward, I would hope that we can select members of the task force that represent a fair and balanced cross-section of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Marcia Squires. I've been a resident in Fremont since 1983. Last week, you, Dr. Shao, you, Ms. Crosby, and you, Mr. Sweeney, voted to stop and/or delay. I'm sorry, I beg their pardon. Doctor, you're right, thank you. And I have it written down, just didn't read it right. You voted to stop and/or delay early inclusive sex education in our schools. There was no compromise. You ignored the facts, the evidence, statistics, and advice of numerous professionals and experts in the field, including the professional experts here at the district. You turned your backs on the beautiful and brilliant children who pleaded for quality education.
Please conclude with
Shame
one
on you.
sentence.
My name is Beth Perez, and I've been a teacher here in FUSD for a long time. As a teacher, I expect that when I introduce a new concept to my students, that there's going to be confusion. My job as a teacher is to clear up that confusion, and that's been my job for the last 21 years, and I think I'm pretty good at it, and I think I taught some of them. I only hope that parents have more faith in my ability to teach my kids than 3 of you exhibited last week at the board meeting. We have amazing teachers in this district. We are able to teach kids how to read, speak a new language, multiply fractions, even write a persuasive essay. Why could you not trust them to teach the 3 R's curriculum? With the elimination of 6th grade health and sex ed, I've compiled a list of just a few things my incoming 7th graders will not have been taught by a highly qualified teacher. They will not have female reproductive system, yet they will be expected to learn about all the other human body systems as well as genetics. They're linked. They will most definitely experience those changes physically, emotionally, and cognitively. They will not have received HIV education, including how it's transmitted, forms of prevention, and they will not hear from a highly qualified teacher that the only way to prevent HIV and other STIs is by avoiding sexual activity. This information is not something that can be delayed until next year. These kids are curious now, and information is only a click away. But is that where from the internet, or worse from their peers, or worse from the popular adult card game Cards Against Humanity, which they can easily purchase? Don't assume that all parents are able to provide this education for their kids. When it comes to the health and well-being of our kids.
Thank you.
Ms. Sharia Westra, Dr. Sonia Khan, Kate Amon, Renuka, Kevin Zhang, Kyle, Ivy Wu, Jess McCauley.
Sharia Westra. Tonight I'm just going to speak as a parent, which I very rarely do because I'm a big picture person and believe that all the kids in Fremont Unified deserve voices at these board meetings. But tonight I'm going to speak specifically about mine. Thursday morning, after being up till 2:30 watching the board meeting at home, 4 hours of sleep, going to work, my daughter said, "So what happened at the meeting?" I said, "Oh, you're never going to believe this." "Well, what?" "Oh, you're not getting any education on health and sex ed this year." "What?" My daughter, who really wasn't excited about it, was like, "What?" "Well, then where am I going to learn about my health, my body and my health?" I said, "Well, not from school." And she was blown away because she has highly qualified teachers that have done that for 4th grade and 5th grade. Talking at school, and then we brainstormed, hey, we'll do this summer. A bunch of us are going to get together and we're going to educate our kids because that's what we do. Went home and told my daughter, she's not really for that idea. Sad to say. We need you to consider for at least 6th grade for this year, the 3 R's.
Thank you.
Please reconsider.
Dr. Sonia Khan, Director of the Pediatric Crisis Solutions Consulting. I want to address the shameful proceedings that took place at the previous board meeting, during which 3 board members elected to dismiss the consensus of evidence-based recommendations that were submitted for their consideration on the necessity for sexual education in elementary school. These recommendations and credentialed vettings of the 3R curriculum were valid and performed by experts who are formally educated in learning theory in the body of our FUSD teaching staff and experts who are formally educated in developmental and behavioral pediatrics, adolescent medicine, and the determination of age appropriateness for the wide variety of exposures we serve our children through their growing years, including their educational curricula. I personally spent almost 2 hours with 2 of these board members and a long email exchange with the 3rd, and I would like to express on the record that every disingenuous question that was posed by these 3 board members in order to derail what should have been an open and shut case had been posed to me in private and had been systematically debunked or explained with credentialed accuracy or with American Academy of Pediatrics policy. I repeat, I present...
Thank you. Hello, my name is Jen. First, I would like to applaud for the board trustees for their hard working during the last meeting. I know many of you have read tons of papers, materials. I really appreciate that. So in Chinese, there's a saying, is more hassle, less speed. In Chinese is 欲速则不达. So it means don't rush, do no harm. That's a basic principle, okay? So for 3R, let's just come together from diverse backgrounds. Let's work together, have a transparent process, create a good curriculum, truly age-appropriate curriculum, and put the children's interests first. You should respect different cultures, be inclusive, truly medical accurate, no distorted facts, anti-bully, no harassment. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Zhang. This is my friend, Hopkins Pan. We are both Fremont parents. First of all, I want to express my sincere appreciation to FUSD Board of Trustees. Thank you for listening to parents' voice and respecting our voice. Thank you for all the time and efforts you've contributed to all of the FUSD kids and the whole Fremont community. Sex education has never been an easy topic to deal with. A few weeks ago, there was even a sex ed sit-out protest happening in different cities and different countries. However, I think instead of considering it as a thorny challenge, we should probably regard it as a God-given opportunity. An opportunity to reunite all the Fremont communities and residents, teachers and students, parents and kids, 3R supporters and opposers. Let's all sit together and calmly communicate with each other to come up with an age-appropriate total health curriculum. Just think about it, how great it will be if we can eventually figure out a solution to make everybody happy. Thus, Fremont would be a good example city to demonstrate to the whole world about how to accomplish this mission impossible. If we all have an understanding, considerate, and forgiving heart, I believe it will be doable because we all truly love our Fremont kids. All in all, love is always the only answer for everything. Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Kate Amon. Total health is a sham. The real goal here is the elimination of discussing any human sexuality in the schools. We can tell this because in last week's meeting, we could see signs that said yes to health ed, and then those were folded down because it was so repugnant to the people holding that. This is called pious fraud. Okay, there's a belief that you're religious, that you want to eliminate any discussion of human sexuality. That's what we're seeing. I will believe that you really support health education if we really come out with a curriculum. But we had staff spending three years on that. There's an opt-out option. So yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. This is an attack on public education. It's recognized. It's going to be recognized at that. And the 3 board members who voted against sex ed, there's a lot more voters in Fremont than we saw last week.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Renuka Hiremani, and I am a parent of 2 children that go to Fremont School District. I would like to thank board members for listening and really active listening. And I don't have to take a whole minute to tell you that thank you very much for listening and making a compromise decision for now. But I know that this is not going away. We all need to work together. And I feel that across there, you have the power to unite everybody here. And if we can work together, I really am for sex education for children, and I'm willing to join the force and help and bring, a curriculum that's inclusive for everyone. So I really want you to be fair in selecting the task force. Please communicate to all families so that everybody is able to participate, if not be in the task force. If every school can have a committee, give their suggestions, and if one person can represent and come into the task force and bring it to you, I would really appreciate if that's possible.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carl Bullard, Washington High School. I'm here tonight to talk about my dismay with the decision of this board last Wednesday. It is appalling to me the transphobia, the homophobia that was demonstrated by members of the opposition to comprehensive sex ed, to the comments that were made by some members of this board, the things that have been attributed to members of this board in the New York Times, agreeing with somebody who says the teaching of comprehensive sex ed that involves LGBTQ issues leads to more gay students. That is absurd to me. And then the commentary that was made that said, transgenders choose? What does that mean? How is that possible? That's like going back to my generation and saying, I chose to be gay. I did not choose to be gay. A transgender youth did not come out of the uterus saying, oh, I'm going to be trans and I'm going to be oppositional, and just because I was born as a female, I'm going to act like a male. That is not how it works. You need to pay attention. Elections are coming, and I have a message to you from somebody who used to sit where Mr. Zuhair is.
Thank you very much.
Who wanted you all to know that elections.
Please conclude with one sentence, please.
Hello, my name is Jess McCauley, and I'm a special educator at Mission San Jose High. And I've emailed you all very recently. I've heard back from 2 of you. One seemed very canned answer. Ms. Burke, thank you for your email in reply. I said that this board is inept, and I will stand by that. They're not listening to these students over here. You guys are awesome. They're listening to parents. They're not listening to teachers. I don't get it. You guys make no sense. I'm a teacher, so you're not listening still. That's all I got.
Good evening. My name is Ivy, and happy birthday, President Dr. Shao. But anyway, first of all, I would like to thank the board for listening to all the concerns shared by the speakers on May 2nd, and for all the staff for working extra hard to facilitate the meeting. And I know it was a very emotional evening. A lot of people were really upset, and I know that one of the teachers actually said to one of the parents in the audience, "You just shut up." And that's just how emotional things got that evening. But I'm not here to tell you how we ought to behave, because I think I think we as a community need to learn to get along better, get to hear each other better. And I don't bear any, frustration or, I think it's time for us all to work better together and move forward instead of bearing this kind of hatred and bitterness against each other. Thank you.
Michael Rivera, Teresa Harris, Emily Thomas, Martha Keeger, Namrata Soni, Malikarjun Shiroshiad, Victoria Berber-Carrera, Yoon Long, Ming-Che Pan, Kor Shea, Malik, Jacques Yang Zhu.
Thank you. Good evening, Michael Rivera, 42-year resident and product of Fremont Unified, as well as a teacher. Webster's Dictionary defines censorship as the institution, system, or practice of examining in order to suppress or delete anything considered objectionable. Last week, you heard from a very passionate number of speakers about how many topics they believed were objectionable. I have to wonder, though, by what scale was the material salaciousness measured? Every topic that was broached was backed up not only by California health standards, but also by the letter of the law. In addition, I'd like to reiterate my point that I previously made, that a district school board is not charged with the responsibility of creating laws. Ultimately, what we as a district successfully achieved last week was censoring ideas and learning. As I close, I'd like to list some other ideas that were believed to be so objectionable they needed to be banned in the United States in the past 20 years. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for promoting witchcraft. The Diary of Anne Frank for including themes of homosexuality. Captain Underpants for depicting a character wearing underwear. The Giving Tree and the Lorax for criminalizing the logging industry. Charlotte's Web for depicting talking animals. Where the Sidewalk Ends for promoting rebellious behavior from children. Bridge to Terabithia for references to the occult. And finally, Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary for defining the term oral sex. If this list of banned books proves anything, it demonstrates that everything from a talking animal to a wizard flying on a broom or the mere definition of a word can be found objectionable by one group or another. What should truly be objectionable, however, is the censorship of ideas and learning.
Martha Krieger. I'm a Fremont resident. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. Yay. I was in here on Monday, and I pretty much, everybody has said the same things that I feel, which is you guys are wonderful, and you put a lot of time into this, but the people you hired to look at the projects and have worked years and months on these things are actual experts. They're curriculum experts. They're experts in legislation. They're experts in child development. They're experts in what the state requires. They're experts in all of these things. That's why we hired them. That's not just their expertise. It's professionally who they are. And every single time they work on these things, you reject them. You rejected them for the science curriculum. You rejected the recommendations on the property. You rejected the recommendations on sex ed. I think Victoria made a great point when she pointed out that a lot of people are leaving the district. Teachers don't want to be here anymore. And that's really something that's up to you guys.
Oh, hello, good evening. My name is Ko Se. Thank you all the board members for your hard work. Been here for all these sessions, and it's been such a long sessions. I went back to home to sleep for so many hours. I'm sure you are also very tired of the sessions. But I'm so happy that all these people come out to show we care about Fremont. We all care about Fremont. No matter what kind of opinion we have. I do want to say everybody in this room, we should love each other. And I've been to North America for so many years. I've been helped by so many people from all sorts of aspect of life. But I really appreciate everyone to be here as part of the community to help make it a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So I came here just to thank you for the decision made last Wednesday. So first of all, I like to thank you for your courage of making a difficult decision. Actually, I wasn't even aware that there were so many outsiders are caring about our district, but then I realized that it was a really a big courage that you made this decision. It's based only on our children and not anything else. And the second thing about the efforts, I know many of you have studied the material and consulting the legal and the other district for this. So I thank all of you for this effort. One other thing is I think that it's already starting to pay off because see the opt-out rate of middle school. It shows that the concerns is there, no matter it's in our meeting in last Wednesday or not. So I'm glad that we took early as possible to make this happen.
you.
So thank you very much.
Namaste and good evening, everyone. And Dr. Shaw, happy birthday to you. And my name is Malik. First of all, thank you so much for your decision to review the age appropriateness for 4th to 6th grade on sex education curriculum. And I want to make very clear that no one in this room is against the education, but it's just the contents we all think are inappropriate for the kids. Standing here, I can quote you a number of examples from the curriculum. So let's fix those items. For the students, teachers are everything. Everything that comes out of the mouth of the teachers, it's very, very important for the kids, and students do take it to their heart and remember it forever. So it's important for us to review this content properly and then put it in front of them so that we don't regret in future. So and since we did not have enough time last time, so we had to compromise for the 4th and 6th. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, respected board members. My name is Xiao Qiansu. I'm a parent of 3 FUSD students. It seems that I came to the wrong meeting because this morning I was very sad to receive a flyer regarding the Fremont teachers situation, and I'm here to speak. Since I'm here, so I better speak. So I'm here to voice my support for the pay raise request by Fremont teacher. And coming from teacher's family, I personally know very well what kind of dedicated job it requires. So much attention, so much long hours of day teaching, and also a lot of hours efforts in curriculum preparation. So I really, really hope that on the future meetings, the question should not be, it's not that does the teacher deserve a raise? It should be that how can we spend.
Thank you.
I respectfully respect 3 minutes again, please, as president of FUDTA.
Yes, it's granted.
Thank you so much. I'll be speaking as president on this because as the FUDTA Representative Council did vote in favor to support a position that would support comprehensive sex education, as I read for you last week, and as the school board voted against. So I would like to start by thanking both trustees Burke and Crosby on the current board and the past board for maintaining sex ed so continually in elementary school up until now. My now 15-year-old son and I have a very close relationship, but the health and sex ed education that he received in elementary school at the time when my first husband passed away was essential. It provided assistance with otherwise awkward conversations, and as a single mom, it really helped me. I want to draw your attention to the fact that, again, this decision that you've made is one that concerns equity. You've now created a situation where those who do not have the family and support in place are the ones that most greatly suffer. It should be that public education holds the great possibility to equalize and to prepare all children to an agreed upon standard. It doesn't matter what the subject area is, it holds them to a minimal standard, and sex and health education should be no different. I caution you about shying away from standards based on what you or other individuals perceive that children can handle. As a math teacher hearing this, I know that this would never fly in Fremont. When things are standards, they are standards, and children deserve to be taught them. If we said, people came up here and spoke and said, kids can't handle the quadratic formula, let's not teach it. Why do kids need imaginary numbers anyway? They really don't seem to like them. Never, never would FUSD do this. Why? Because they're standards, and we have data to show kids going through these topics will lead to a success in their mathematical life. Data shows that it's the right thing to do. Standards that have been adopted show that it's the right thing to do. I was asked recently by a trustee on this board that was it my position that the board shouldn't compromise that the families we serve. And after a lot of thinking on this, my answer is that as public educators and a public education system, when we have the ability to make the best choice for our children and all the data points direct that minimal standard, there's no reason to compromise. Please do the best for our Fremont students, all of them.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our regular agenda item, but I was just reminded that our break time is coming. So why don't we just take a 10 minutes break and reconvene at 9:45. Night. Is there anything that we can? 9:30. I'm sorry, I can't be missed. Right. Okay. Welcome
Microphones
back
are on.
to the regular meeting of Fremont Unified School District Board, May 9th, 2018.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
Before the break, we were asked what items we could table tonight from our agenda tonight to make the meeting shorter, not short. And then the staff's recommendation is 15.5, receive a presentation on the new construction project at Horner Middle School, as well as 15.10, report out and receive input on the labor management collaborative. So is it agreeable to the board that those two items be tabled?
I do have a public speaker for item 15.5.
Okay.
Can we take that public speaker without going into the whole agenda item so that they have an opportunity to say what they've come here for at 10 o'clock?
Just how many for 15.5, please?
Just one.
Just one. I apologize for the inconvenience that we may have caused you. Please speak on the item right now. Ms. Sandoval, could you call the speaker?
For 15.5?
That's correct.
Miss Victoria Burbeck Herrera.
Oh.
Yeah. Does she want? Oh.
Okay.
Since you're normally in attendance, do you want to just speak when it comes back to us? Or do you want to speak this evening?
Well, she's going to be here, so I don't think I will.
I know.
Oh gosh, honey. So we're gonna go through all this before all of those. That's this next.
Hello again, school board trustees and district staff. Very quickly, as this is on Horner. Yes? Okay. So I just want to ask you to consider, as we know that with our growing school district and all of our new students, we have so much new construction going on, and that does need to be a lot of what you're considering as you budget moving forward. But what are new classrooms without teachers? So please consider that as you are budgeting. This particular item is concerning Horner, which actually is where I imagine going back to, because Horner Junior High, which will be Horner Middle School, by the time I hope to return, we'll have a lot of new things going on there. And yet it's very sad to me that only recently I thought, what if I didn't go back? Because as we have discussed and many people have pointed out, even halfway through my career, I could go to Union City and they would take enough years of service and they pay as higher that I would actually make more switching over to Union City instead of going back to Horner. So I hope that you will value our educators and continue to prioritize getting educators, filling all of those beautiful new classrooms that you're building, and take that upon yourselves seriously. Thank you very much.
Now we come to the regular agenda items. 15.1, approve the recommendation for the K-6 English language arts adoption and authorize funding.
Okay, good evening, school board, Superintendent Dr. Wallace and staff. Again, my name is Linda Anderson. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and to my right is Judy Cudarufo, the Program Manager for English Language Arts and History Social Science, who has been very active in this adoption. We are here, as Dr. Shao has mentioned, to bring forward to you the kindergarten through 6th grade adoption for English Language Arts and Spanish dual immersion. So what I'd like to do is go through the background quickly with you, and that is the last adoption that we did for English language arts occurred in 2010 and 11. Currently, we are using Treasures, which was adopted in that year in general education. We're using Thesaurus for our Spanish dual immersion, and we're using Triumphs for resource and special education. The reason why we need to do this adoption is the current curriculum that we are using is not aligned to the California Common Core standards or the ELA SDI framework. Also, currently, this curriculum, Treasures, is no longer available from the publishers. And last is the current curriculum has minimal support for materials, online, or professional development. So the outcomes, when we started the adoption, what were our outcomes in the very beginning? What did we hope to accomplish, and how did we do that? So the first thing we did is we reviewed the California Department of Education recommended curriculum list. And at that point, we then selected 2 that we were going to dive into deeper. And they were Benchmark or Adelante and Wonders or Maravillas. From there, we provided time for teachers to review and teach the programs in their classroom. It's been a very great, extensive year of piloting and trying the materials out. They were to evaluate each program using the Fremont District Evaluation Form. The criteria was, is this curriculum aligned with ELA, ELD framework and the California Common Core standards? Does it have balanced literacy, which is so crucial for our students? Does it have ELD support, intervention, enrichment, and good assessments so we can deliver to our students? Also at that time, during the process, they were able to share their concerns and questions regarding both curriculums. That took 5 meetings. And at the end, the outcome was to recommend their overall choice for the K through 6 ELA, ELD, SDI curriculum.
Explain the ELA process. So it all started in our in March. To the publishers, and they brought back all the list of the curriculum that we were going to review. It was then that we talked about what there was available, and then I actually talked to neighboring districts and asked what they chose and why they chose it. It was then in October that we just communicated to the administrators that we would begin the ELA ELD adoption. We followed the Article 2110, and we made sure that each site had a representative. And we also provided our instructional coaches to support trainings. And we were very blessed to have not only the Benchmark and Wonders representatives model lessons in the classroom so that the piloting teachers can see what the program looked like. We also had after-school sessions so that teachers could talk with the publishers. And during the month of November through February, our teachers piloted the materials. And they actually wrote up a letter to send to parents to let them know that their children would be seeing different curriculum that so if they had any questions, they could talk to the teachers. It was during January, we were invited to the administrators meeting, and I was able to provide an update on how the adoption process was going, share some concerns that the teachers had in regards to what this curriculums were asking teachers to have in the classroom, and then we actually opened up a Google Doc for administrators to provide any information that, or any concerns that they may have. So it was in January, and we actually worked to resolve the majority of the conflicts or concerns that they had. So during the months of February through March, CNI had all the curriculum available for parents to review. We also provided an online login so parents didn't have to come to CNI and they could actually view it at home. We also, instructional coaches and myself, sat with parents and explained the different curriculums and what this curriculum would involve for teachers and students. It was during our February meeting that our piloting teachers collaboratively worked together and developed through the criteria sheet that Linda discussed about all the positives for both curriculums, because we know that there's not one perfect curriculum, but we were able to pull all the components and all the teachers worked collaboratively together. They created it. We did a gallery walk, and it was then that we saw how strong a specific curriculum was, and they voted. And now we are here at May 9th recommending our curriculum.
Okay, so what the adoption committee comprised of was 29 FUSD teachers, one per site. However, one of the sites had two. We had a Spanish dual immersion teacher represented. That totaled the 29. We also had two SDC teachers, one resource, and a Spanish dual immersion representative from federal and state, and then one FUTA representative. So our expectations of them were the following. They were to teach both curriculums and, of course, document their strengths and challenges using the criteria sheet that they gave them. And that would then, they would bring this back, so when they attended the 5 meetings, they could have a discussion about the strengths and weaknesses of whatever curriculum they were piloting at the time. They provided feedback by completing Fremont Unified School District evaluation form. And then again, the outcome, the expectations of them was at the end that they would be able to recommend a curriculum to the school board. So if you notice on here, when we voted, and I'll just real quickly, there's a great pie chart there that shows you by majority, the teachers voted for benchmark. So again, that's just to show you visually, 81% of the teachers chose benchmark and 18% chose wonders.
I'm just going to take a few minutes and explain some of the strengths of benchmarks. First and foremost, it is aligned with the California core standards, and it is aligned with the ELA-ELD framework. It was actually developed after the framework, so it addresses many of the Common Core shifts that we are seeing in education. The data for benchmark is amazing. The Folsom Cordova Unified School District had an article in the Sacramento Bee that they were the school that actually outperformed district-wide on the SBAC with gains, in regards to gains. As for the districts using benchmark versus all the other districts that are using other curriculum, they are scoring high in regards to the benchmark SBAC assessments. So, and last but not least is the Chula Vista. That one is the most impressive. They are in the actual analysis part of it, and they are the longitude study that they're using. And their ELs in 4th grade had a 23-point gain. And in the state, it was only a 3-point gain. And also in the 5th grade ELs, they gained 46 points, whereas in the state, it averaged a 5-point gain. So our ELs are extremely progressing through this, this curriculum. And then they have a wonderful intervention program that allows teachers to progress monitor, and an enrichment program that allows them to do performance tasks. So if they've mastered the standards, they can give them additional enrichment. And the assessments are linked to the standards, and they can pull reports so teachers can group their kids in regards to what strengths they need support in. And then the publishers. I can't thank Leah Brusky enough. She not only brought in Folsom teachers who taught in the classroom to support our piloting teachers, she also brought in all materials to make it feasible that they could teach this with fidelity. So I can't thank benchmarks enough.
Okay, so what we'd like to go over, I'm going to go over the top part of this web that you're seeing in front of you, and link it to the initiatives that are happening in Fremont Unified. And of course, in the middle of the web is benchmark. So if you look to the top left, professional learning communities, benchmark lends itself very well to professional learning communities. And the way it does that is because of the multiple assessments and data that teachers can then bring to collaborative meetings. And the purpose, again, is to look at this data, professionally working together. Okay, what's happening? What are we doing? Why is this not working? What can we do next? So again, it lends very well to that initiative. On the top, common formative assessments, also benchmark lends very well to that initiative. And here's how. Benchmark is filled with formative assessments. And in those formative assessments, as we come together as a collaborative PLC team, we'll look at them and say, okay, let's turn this one into a common formative assessment of which we will all use, and then come back again and analyze the data and discuss, did they get it? Did they not? What are we going to do next? Benchmark really helps us quite a bit with that initiative. And the final one that I'm going to talk about is report cards, but I'd like to extend that to standards-based grading. Benchmark is very aligned to our standards, and one of the things that we're helping teachers move forward with as we go and to newer report card in a year or so is standards-based grading. So it will help us very much get that dialogue going of what is standards-based grading.
So when we look at the ELA, ELD priority standards that FUSD has created at our district, this benchmark aligns really well. The weekly assessments have many of our priority standards, and there are several opportunities within the mini lessons that address our priority standards. As for the multi-tier system of support, it has a screener, it has progress monitoring, it has, if the student doesn't understand this, teach this mini lesson, and Illuminate. The really wonderful thing about it is that teachers are already using Illuminate right now in our district, and they've actually have created many of the hybrid assessments in Illuminate, so teachers can pull those reports using Illuminate. So this is a slide of all the districts that have adopted benchmark. There are over 200. I just put the neighboring districts right now, and Livermore and Los Angeles is another district that was has adopted benchmark. The next steps, so what we've planned so far for the next steps until the end of school year is first to communicate to administrators what your decision was and to teachers. And then we are providing opportunities to learn about benchmark by providing release days that share the whole group instruction and the small group. Having these release days allows teachers to understand the structure of how benchmark is run, and also gives teachers to understand what it can look like in the classroom. We are also providing site support where our instructional coaches have been going to sites and explaining the components so that the teachers, before they leave, they understand the different components of benchmark. And they are actually training teachers how to screen.
Okay, so let me now take over the task of talking to you about the cost and the pickup and the delivery. So if you look on the left-hand side, the cost of benchmark, we have two options. The first option, it is a 5-year adoption. However, option 1 is to have a 3-year plan, which is 0% interest, which would be $1.966 million a year, totaling a total of $5.9 million. However, we do have an option 2, which is a 5-year plan with a 2% interest at $1.24 million per year, totaling $204,000 a year. So in the middle, you'll see, so what's going to happen to treasures? So we will be, again, recycling the outdated curriculum, and we will make sure that we do it in an extremely environmentally friendly manner. One of the options possibly is have some of the anthologies in the library, but there's many other options that we will put forward to the school sites, but again, that's free. So last thing I want to talk about is delivery. So the purchase order, after the board makes their decision tonight, a purchase order will be sent to Benchmark Education. The delivery of the materials will come 2 weeks after. The administrators and the teachers will be notified when the materials will be delivered to their site. The first thing we're going to do is have the teachers' materials delivered to Fremont Unified and then distributed to the sites. And the purpose for that is prior to the very first PD, which is being offered on June 19th. Then the second part will be the student materials, which will come after July, again delivered to Fremont Unified School District first, the warehouse, and then delivered to the sites.
So like I told you before, we're going to have some professional development. There will be a small group session, which we've already had one, and we actually had them filled within 45 minutes. So it's a really great thing that these teachers are excited to start learning about these PDs that we're having now. And on May 12th, if approved, this Saturday, we have actually, I've been working with the Toluca Rivers teacher that actually has the Facebook Markers and Minions that does a lot of collaboration with Benchmark and has a real positive environment. We're going to actually have her on Saturday to work with our piloting teachers to help plan a unit. And our staff development. So we will have 1.5 days of staff development. So we're trying to build a calendar. Hopefully I'll be able to send out a survey and ask teachers what days are best for them, because we know some teachers like to start in June or some like to start planning in July. So we were trying to make a few days that they'll be able to decide on what day they'd like the staff development day, the full day, and then we'll move on into the half day on August 24th. They will plan at their site.
And the other thing is, on September 11th, we will have the ELD training half day.
And then we will have ongoing professional development throughout the school year. So when September starts, all the components of benchmark are, there's several components. So there may be teachers that want to learn one component at a time, or maybe strong in some components and not strong in others. So we're going to offer these different components so that they can come and get the training they need at the time that they want.
And finally, with professional development, what we're really excited about is from September to June, benchmark and standards-based grading together and really developing a train the trainer model. And what that will look like is the administrators from the school site, along with a lead teacher from that school site and a coach, will come together in the afternoon once a month, and they'll be given some training that they then will bring back to their staff and train there. And I will open this, but we won't go into much detail with it. But the positive thing of the 3-year implementation, and what's so critical for this adoption is, and it's not going to work. There it goes. Anyway, we have a 3-year implementation plan, and we wanted to really emphasize is that when you do a big adoption like this, you can't just have a 1-year, okay, you're going to do this as professional development, and then you're not going to do anything else. So this 3-year implementation plan shows how we will keep going every year with professional development. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. Ms. Paranga, Ms. Sandoval, how many public speakers do we have on this item?
I have 11 public speakers.
Again, 1 minute per speaker. Can you call those speakers?
Krista Krishna, Sharia Westra, Susan Conde Hernandez, Karen Best, Karen Neverson, Christy Taylor, Lisa Huggins, Christy Wilson Poctagon, and Victoria Burbeck Herrera.
We're buddies. All right. Fast. Good evening, members of the board. This has been, I'm Sheree Westra. This has been a moment I've been waiting for since I received my Master's of Science with a focus on literacy over a decade ago. I am here tonight to support staff recommendation for adopting Benchmark, an adoption that I feel is coming at the right time with the right purpose to provide a balanced literacy approach to teaching reading and writing. After a few years of teaching, I had a principal who mentored me to be a better teacher of reading. After 2 years of her leadership, MPD supported, I decided to get my master's in literacy. During that program, I learned from some of the best and some of the best here in Fremont. And sometimes that I would reflect and think, what I'm getting from my curriculum here doesn't really go with my master's program and what they're teaching me. And I was often conflicted. As time went on, I refined my craft, began to work on comprehension strategies, things like Writer's Workshop, and truly came to appreciate something called guided reading, something that Benchmark provides, small group instruction focusing on the specific needs of students. And Niles has been fortunate to have a book room of leveled books, but not every school in the school district has that, but they will with Benchmark. In my previous life as FUSD president, I had many teachers when Common Core came about say that we did not have adopted curriculum, that we had no assessments, formative or summative, and that they complained about that year after year. We finally will have something. I'm skipping a lot here. The FUSD CNI department has provided tons of PD for teachers over the years, very valuable and superb, and they often do not get commended for all the work they do, so I want to do that tonight. Before you tonight is a new adoption. I know that there is no perfect program, because if there was, we'd all be adopting it. But we chose here today something that is very, very rigorous and highly recommended by all the teachers who gave up hours of times to work on this, many of them that are behind me. I wasn't fortunate enough to do that, but these folks were. Christine Wilson and Judy Kudarofa worked so hard on this, and they're to be commended as well. In my current classroom, I'm lucky that I got to borrow some Benchmark materials, even though I didn't get adopted. And we've been working with a challenge group with Christine Wilson, who's behind me, working with kids to provide the rigorous extension and enrichment they need, as well as for my low performing students. Please listen to the staff on this and approve.
Good evening, I'm Christy Taylor, and I teach kindergarten at Cabrillo. We all know that change is hard. Any adoption of a new curriculum involves friction, patience, and learning. Yet the only way that there can be improvement is change. So the question isn't should we change or not, but how will we improve? Our decision has to be based on data, and that this proposed adoption will be an improvement. We as a team have investigated several curricula. I implemented the benchmark curriculum in my kindergarten classroom. I cannot speak to all the data from all the classrooms, but I can speak firsthand to this data because I collected it from my students. Cabrillo is diverse in languages, ethnicities, and socioeconomic status. Any curriculum we adopt has to meet the diverse needs of our learners. The unique classroom where I have the privilege of teaching is an inclusion classroom. This means that 1/3 of our students have been identified to receive special education services for autism or speech and language impairments. Not only is our class comprised of students with IEPs, but also English language learners and children of diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Out of our class of 32, 27 are on track to meet or exceed California's kindergarten state standards today. These children are ready to go to first grade through the use of the benchmark curriculum. For the few who remain to hit the target, we still have 5 weeks left of learning. Benchmark curriculum creates engagement and high-level critical thinking and learning across the board, even in such a diverse class as a kindergarten inclusion classroom at Cabrillo. I strongly recommend the adoption of the benchmark curriculum to meet the needs of our diverse learners. This is how we will improve. Thank you.
The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, commentary by Karen Narveson, me. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. 2 reading programs were placed in our hands. And sorry, I could not travel both. We had to make a serious choice on which reading program to choose. And being one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. And being one teacher, and I tried one curriculum and followed the lessons in benchmark, and I had pleasant and unexpected challenges and successes. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Then I tried Wonders, and I tried to be fair. I used the textbooks, workbooks, practice books, tests, Wonders questions, and website, and the Wonders series did not live up to that claim. Though as far as that passing there had warned them really about them same. Both series still had claimed that they could produce good readers, writers, and test takers. And both that morning equally lay on in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. As teachers, we have always taught treasures, and we know that Wonders is just a shiny version of it. We know the outcome of treasures and that it wasn't enough for students. If FUSD chooses Wonders, we will be in a rut of boring questions and lackluster tasks to do in intellectually demeaning workbooks. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. I will be saying with a hopeful heart that this district will choose benchmark. I want engaging books and plays for children to read. I want to ask questions that will make children think deeply.
Thank you.
And this has made the difference.
I'm Karen Best, and I'm speaking for Sherry Sweeney, a 3rd grade teacher at Blake Howell Elementary. What would you think if you saw 28 3rd grade students reading, annotating texts, engaging in meaningful discussion, taking notes, and making connections across various texts? Well, to me, this is the definition of close reading, and Benchmark brings it all together for my students. The highlights of the program for me have been the consumable anthology, gradual release of responsibility, I do, we do, you do model, leveled readers, readers theater, and the availability on the online library. Students are interacting with the text every time we read because they annotate in the book. This has been a huge help for all of my students, but even more so for my students with learning disabilities and my ELL students. Because they are underlining and the numbering facts in the text They are able to transfer the information to graphic organizers more effectively. They are underlining key details, determining main ideas, noting spelling patterns and vocabulary in all text. They are learning to authentically engage in meaningful text. We read to understand, and Benchmark puts it all together in the effectiveness, lessons, and materials. The learning happens through the gradual release of responsibility. It begins with the teacher as the model, then provides opportunity for students to collaborate together, and final for individual students to practice. The focus on my small group instruction is an essential part of any curriculum. Mastery of skills happens for most part in small group. Benchmark provides materials and lessons for teachers so that students can be successful. I love the leveled reading screener that comes with the program. It has clear directions and leveling rubric. This is especially helpful since I have not had experience leveling students. Honestly, it gave the best view of my students in my class.
Thank you.
Good evening, school board, our superintendent and cabinet. My name is Susan Condor Hernandez, and during the past year, I had the professionally rewarding experience to pilot 2 English language arts programs at the first grade level. I love Benchmark, which is the first pilot that we implemented during the months of November and December. This well-balanced literacy instruction program highly demonstrates the following literacy instructional areas: content knowledge, making meaning, foundational skills, language development, and effective expression to support writing instruction. And a well-developed program to support our English language learners, our low-achieving students, and special needs students with scaffolding techniques, routines, along with a dedicated EL support program. As you are well aware about data, our EL students are lagging in our district and need the ongoing and daily support to close the achievement gap. This program addresses all of those needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Again, I would ask as FUDTA president that I could have the extended time to speak on
3
behalf
minutes,
of our
please.
educators. Thank you. Good evening again, Victoria Burbeck Herrera. Thank you so much for all of your hard work on this, district staff, and greetings again, school board. So this sounds very, very familiar. We gathered representation. We spent time and energy. We used district resources. We looked at data. We made a recommendation, and now we're bringing it to you. As silly as it sounds, I had both classroom teachers, district educators, and district administration ask myself and other members of FUDTA if we thought there was anything in the works that might not let this go through. Were there any rumblings of parents that might have a problem? Was there anything that might happen? What could happen? Professional educators, both in the classroom and at the district level, are now experiencing a culture of confusion and uncertainty in Fremont Unified. We take on additional commitments when you ask to do this work. We volunteer to pilot new programs when you ask. We try new things when you ask. We push ourselves continually to be better for our students when you ask. And it isn't easy, but we've always trusted that you have students' best interest at heart, just as we do. And then we come to you with what we've done and all of the hard work and time that we've put in. And uncertainty comes now, because where we used to expect that our time and energy and educational expertise would be valued, we now don't know. So as silly as it seems to me, I'm here as the FUDTA president to ask that you take the educator time, work, and recommendation, and the staff work and recommendation, and take that for what it is. Because you as elected officials are here to do what's best for our students, but a huge piece of that is taking the educator voice and expertise and weighing that that is what is going to be best for our students. Thank you.
Trustee Sweeney.
Thank you.
Fact-based. 2, it was piloted. 3, there were options. 4, you brought all that information to the board. 5, it was accessible and transparent to everybody who wanted to look at it. Fully in support. The only question I would have is, this is a 5-year program with 5 years of consumables. It's realistic to expect at the end of 5 years, if we want to buy more consumables, they might have changed their textbooks. So I'm fine going in with our eyes wide open, and I would propose we use the 3-year plan to pay it off quicker and save $300,000.
With Vice President Dr. Burke.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you to all the teachers who are here to show their support for the adoption. I do have one question because it's come up, and it is the elephant in the room. When it went for preview for parents, what kind of feedback did you receive?
Well, I sat with parents, and they actually really appreciated the part that the students could annotate, because I explained to the parents that sometimes the parents don't really get to know what they're doing. So this is a real visual for parents to see what they don't understand and what they do understand. And then I also explained all the different components that with the small group, that their child is actually going to get some time with a teacher to actually help them learn the behaviors to become a really successful reader.
Thank you.
Trustee Campbell.
Well, thank you for this. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for taking time after hours yesterday to go over the whole program with me and show me all of the great work that is being done, and share with me some of the concerns that you had, in particular with our English language learners, and how the data is showing that students are not meeting expectations. And of all of the students that are not, we could fill up, how many schools could we fill up?
5 schools.
We could fill up 5 schools right here in a high-performing district where we actually have kids that are not performing at grade level. And we could fill up 5 schools with those students. So I'm really excited that you're excited about this program. The teachers are excited about this program. So thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Trustee Crosby.
I wanted to thank the teachers and support that came out to speak to us. I think it's sad that it should be necessary, or that you are concerned that it's necessary, but I appreciate hearing from you because it's good to have your perspective, and in poetry form. That was fantastic. So how often do we normally do an adoption like this?
It can range anywhere from 8, and I'm trying to get it down lower to 5 years because curriculum is always changing.
Right.
So yeah, it could go as high as 8, and there's many out there, which is you're going to see with the secondary ELD adoption that is even more than that.
Okay. Well, you had me at Reader's Theater, you know.
Okay, good.
So I'm supportive. When I came, and thank you for your time to show me the curriculum. I've only taught secondary level, so looking at it, I was like, man, I would never teach elementary school because I would feel totally unprepared to do that. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, I could maybe even do these lessons. They're so amazingly well thought out, and there's so much support and information there, and it's just all the resources that are available. I'm not surprised. I'm familiar with Chula Vista, so the fact that they have had a lot of success, that's huge. And so I don't think that you could have anything that would support it more than this. I don't know what else you would need for us to be supportive. So yeah, I'm with Trustee Sweeney. I think 3 years is fine.
Thank you for the presentation. When I was, listening to you and looking at the material that you presented, I was so grateful that the whole process so rigorous and transparent. First, you started with 2 different options independently without any guidance from the outside group. Secondly, you asked around and asked neighboring school district what they were using, and you based on that data to make your decision. And third, you surveyed among the teachers, and it's a democratic process and it's transparent. And as you also see, even though this benchmark is highly recommended among the teachers, but it's not like 100%. Even among the teachers, they still have disagreements. Fourth, you also just looked at the aspect data and made that decision based on aspect data. And so this process is so thorough, and you had options, and then you choose the better one. And so with that, I would like to also support the staff's recommendation with the benchmark, also with a 3-year plan.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
So is the motion for how many years?
3 years.
Thank you.
The staff recommendation.
And not to have it come back to us.
And I know that Judy was chomping at the bit to say that the 6 teachers who said that they preferred the other curriculum, they actually said that benchmark was something that they would be happy to teach as well. Is that what you were about to jump out of your seat for?
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And now we move on to 15.2, approval of the recommendation for 7th and 12th grade English language development curriculum. Please go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Good evening. We're here to discuss.
Paya, please.
We're here to present a presentation on a recommendation from staff of new ELD curriculum at the secondary level. So to give some framework of our English language development, our last adoption for secondary was in 1998. That curriculum that was adopted was High Point, and we've been using it for over 20 years. The reason for the adoption, as the standards have changed, California adopted the new ELD ELA framework, and so we need to have alignment to that. That was adopted in 2012. Our current curriculum is no longer available, and we also are unable to access certain materials, so online support and professional development.
Okay, so again, outcomes that we wanted for the secondary ELD adoption. So first, of course, we reviewed the Department of Education's recommended current curriculum list, and we selected 4 curricula to pilot, which were National Geographic, Amplify, ILET, and StudySync. Again, we provided time for teachers to review the materials and teach units in their classroom. They were to evaluate the program, again, using the following criteria. Does the curriculum align with the ELD standards and California ELA framework, ELD framework? Is it balanced literacy? Have ELD components, ELD technology support, intervention, enrichment, and of course an assessment. Again, same as the ELA adoption for the secondary ELD adoption, we had 3 meetings. They were able to share their concerns and any questions regarding the curriculum, and we expected the outcome to be that we will bring forward to the board a recommendation for the ELD secondary adoption. And the process that we followed was, in March of 2017, publishers came to present to the ELD, present the ELD curricular, secondary ELD curriculum to the secondary ELD teachers. The teachers also at that time used the ELD adoption criteria sheet. In September of this year, all ELD teachers were invited to pilot curricula. The teachers piloted curricula for an 8-week period. Federal and state programs provided students and teachers feedback surveys to gather input on materials. And again, the curricula that was selected, as I stated before, was Amplify, which is only available for junior high. A National Geographic was piloted in the junior high and senior high. Study Sync was piloted in junior high and senior high, and ILIT in the junior high and senior high. And then in December, we did form an ELD adoption committee. And from there, from February 6th and February 27th, the adoption committee met to talk about the surveys, the evaluation forms, feedback that they were getting, and then they unanimously, teachers voted for the proposed curriculum. At that time, there was parent preview and of student materials. It was posted on the district website. Announcements were sent out via School Loop and also communicated to the administrators. And we are now here today, May 9th, to recommend to the school board the recommendation for the secondary ELD adoption. There were 9 piloting teachers. All teachers were ELD teachers ranging from ELD 1 to ELD 3. Again, they chose a curriculum to pilot for a quarter. They provided feedback, and they made a recommendation for the 2018-19 ELD curriculum.
So based on piloting, our junior high recommendation is for our ELD 1 and ELD 2 courses, National Geographic Inside. For ELD 3, it would be Amplify. And then when we look at the high school level, ELD 1 and ELD 2 course would be National Geographic Edge. And for ELD 3, Study Sync. When we looked and did a deeper dive of the programs that we were recommending, we found that there were many benefits to Amplify, and that, again, is only available for junior high. They do not currently have that curriculum at the high school level. We found that our students were highly engaged. There's a lot of technology that it's infused. They provide videos that really scaffolds the units, and so our students really enjoyed that curriculum. Again, lots of rich discussion, lots of writing skills that we know our English learners really need that support, and has literacy skills that are built in. Again, the quality task aligned to reading and writing, listening, and speaking, those are the 4 domains that our English learners are assessed on based on our new LPAC assessment. And then it's also aligned to once our English learners transition out of designated EL classes, they go into their English courses. So they're taking English 7 or English 8. And that is more closely aligned to what they will experience when they go into those classes. So there's a lot of novels. So again, it would be very much more of an alignment so that when they leave those designated classes and go into their English courses, they'll be prepared for that coursework. National Geographic, which was the recommendation for both the junior high and high school, really focuses on foundational skills and building English language development, proficiency, many opportunities for students to practice new learning, offers materials and supports that meets the needs of emerging students, so students who are learning English. And there are leveled libraries that, again, allows, based on students' Lexile levels, for students to read novels and be prepared for that. And then again, for Study Sync, which was the high school level, each unit has frequent and varied opportunities for students to engage in whole class, small group, and peer-to-peer discussion.
The Grammar and Composition Handbook, again, focuses on those skills that we know our English learners need. Again, there are range and volume of reading in service of grade level reading proficiency. And again, just like Amplify, we found that this curriculum is more aligned to when students leave our designated ELD courses and take English 9 or 10, depending on what grade level, that they will be better prepared for those courses. Just to note that our team of teachers have been working very hard. We in our district have developed priority standards based on English language development standards. We are one of the first districts to do that in California. And so that was one of the things that we looked at as when we were reviewing all of the different curriculums, we wanted to make sure that that work that our teachers have worked on had alignment. And so that is why these curriculum has been recommended, because that was one of the lenses that we were looking at to determine that we had alignment with our priority standards, and they do.
And finally, back to the professional development, which is so critical, again, when you're rolling out an adoption. So after this evening, we will, if the adoption is approved, we will notify the ELD teachers and administrators of the outcome of this adoption. In August of this summer, we will have professional development days, full days, 7th through 12th for National Geographic, a full day for Amplify for 7th and 8th, and also a full day for 9th through 12th Study Sync. And ongoing, which is again critical, in October, in January, and in April of 2019, we'll have 3 release days for further training and collaboration, and again, it's the administrators, lead teachers, and the instructional coaches. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
Ms. Burbeck Herrera.
Good evening again, school board and district staff. Thank you so much for your hard work on this. Again, I would be remiss as the educator representative to not say, please follow our recommendation. And so thank you for presenting that. And additionally, with the dollar amount being just under 200,000 and the previous adoption being under 6 million, together, that's about 6 million. And from our count, it looks like you still have 17 million before tonight in books and supplies. And so I know, as far as please show us where there's money, $17 million in May in books and supplies, when you've now just gone through your largest adoption with the last item and another minor adoption now. Only taking about 6 million. That's quite a chunk of change still sitting there. And so we hope that you will consider using that money, as we have asked, to help sustain quality education in Fremont through an ongoing raise with your educators. Thank you.
Vice President Dr. Burke.
Thank you both. Just a quick question regarding the conversion to a middle school. I'm assuming this is also going to be applicable to 6th graders when they come over.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to once again congratulate you on the hard work and vigorous and transparent process. And actually, this kind of process is setting up a standard for our future curriculum adoption. With that, Trustee Campbell.
I just wanted to say that thank you for indulging me last night by showing me all of the books and sharing with me what the students will learn and the great resources that are available for them. I think one of the things that I think that it's really good, because kids are on computers a lot, and that means that each student will have their own tablet. so that they will be able to work on some of the lessons on their own individual tablets, right? Okay.
Chromebooks.
Good. I'm sorry.
Chromebooks. I'm sorry.
Chromebooks.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they're each individually they will have their Chromebooks. Okay. So that was one of the things that I was really concerned about, since this some of the lessons are heavily technology driven, that each student would be able to have it. And I think that's a great thing, because that's what kids are doing now, using Chromebooks. So again, thank you for taking the time. Great job on the process. I think that if nobody else has any comments, or I'd like to make a motion to approve staff recommendation for this adoption.
Trustee Crosby.
Did you want a second, Dr. Rook?
I'll second, and then.
Okay. I had a feeling you would. You look like you're in the middle. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we've heard from our secondary instructors that things have been thin for them and not having the supports that they needed. So I'm glad that this will be going forward to support their teaching, and that I'm supportive.
We have a motion on the floor and a second with nobody in queue. Let's have a vote.
It is open for your vote. The motion passes unanimously.
Next item is 15.3, approve the purchase of Lexia program and Reading Plus for grades TK to 12 through school year 2018 to 2020 with Greenfield Learning.
There's not a presentation,
No presentation.
but I'd be willing to answer any questions.
Sure. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
I do. Allison McCauley. No. Oh, she is still here.
Is it a minute? I don't know. I'm asking. Okay. Hi. Last time I spoke to you, because the schools were notified that all future library funding would be cut to purchase the Lexia computer program. Since then, we've been notified that a solution is in the works to fund both. We're so excited, and we're thankful for your role in supporting that. And we hope to hear more about it at the LCAP public hearing on June 6th. Meanwhile, I read all the materials that are available to us now about Lexia, and I had just two quick clarification questions. Firstly, I was wondering how it is that FUSD will be using mostly current year LCAP funding to pay for this new Lexia subscription, when schools have been told that we can't use current year LCAP funding for database subscriptions and magazine subscriptions and anything that's delivered in the future. If we've misunderstood that, it would be great for us to know, so that we could purchase things that are like this as well, that are ongoing subscriptions. And then secondly, there's a lot of data, great data from elementary school about Lexia, but I was just wondering if there was anything about it at the secondary level. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Herman, those two questions.
Yes, the first one about the funding, we were able to work with the publishers to start the contract in May, so we were able to shift some of the funding to this year's budget, and then the rest of it will be for the next 2 years. And in terms of the data, we were able to share with the board yesterday data that goes on the Reading Plus. Lexia is primarily an elementary version of the program, but Reading Plus is the one that goes for middle school and high school. And there is significant data available. And again, it's shown quite strong gains in reading levels for students, both male and female, in many different subgroups.
Trustee and Crosby.
Thank you. I'm hesitant about this, because it's for such a long period of time, and I wasn't particularly impressed with the data. I am hesitant to go against your recommendation if you feel that it's strong, but I'm concerned because it's for 3 years, and we get into it, and if after year 1, year 2, we're not seeing good gains being made, we're still obligated. So
It's for 26 months. And one of the reasons why we felt strong about that is typically when we had data from before for elementary school, and the schools that used it with Fidelity did see significant gains. The school who's using it now at secondary, Kennedy, has been using it for 2 years and is also seeing significant gains. One of the things that we wanted to make sure is if we do pilot it, it can be difficult to get the data that we need to show a whole year's growth, because we'd be needing to make that decision about a month ago or so. So we wanted to make sure that we gave it at least a whole full school year to do the K-12 implementation to gather all the data that we need. So it's a 26-month contract.
I apologize. I don't know why I had 3 years and where I read that or how I misread it. And your point is well taken about the data and having enough data available to us. So and that's all my questions. Thank you.
Trustee Sweeney. Trustee Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I'm changing my thought process because I just don't want to go down the road that I was going to bring up. Just curious right now, the schools that have it, are they paying for it themselves?
Yes, it is coming out of...
Will this program take it away from them funding it themselves, so all the schools will be paid for by the district, so it'll be all...
Yes, so they will then have that discretionary money back at their site budgets.
Thank you.
Trustee Campbell.
Excuse me. I was a bit confused on the one chart that showed the usage report from a whole year's worth, almost a year's worth, August 2017 through April 2018, and it showed that the high schools actually are not using it at all.
I think that usage report was a Lexia usage report. That's the one that we have the most data on right now, and that's what we pulled. But so that typically right now, Lexia only goes through 6th grade. We did get some usage data from Principal Velez at Kennedy that showed they use it for all of their 9th grade students last year and this year.
But did you provide us with the report? Because it says there's 1,320 students at Kennedy that are eligible, I guess, but it shows no student usage throughout that period of time.
Again, I think the usage was for the Lexia. Because Kennedy has a contract, it shows that they're eligible in general in their software system. I could have the data run for you for the Reading Plus, which is the high school version of the software.
So which of the high schools is Kennedy
Kennedy.
the only high school?
The only one that's using it currently.
Okay. Did you gain support from the other high schools that they're interested in?
We definitely need to have additional reading supports for our students at the secondary level. We have actually a growing gap in our ELA scores for SBAC, and it's pretty pronounced among some of our subgroups. For example, our differentiated assistance for homeless students and not meeting their graduation rates. One of the characteristics that we saw, because 4 years of English is required for graduation, that can be one of the things that actually is the greatest barrier for some students in meeting their graduation rates. It can also, not having adequate reading skills can also prevent them from being successful in other courses. So we definitely feel that this particular intervention is something that is going to be needed. On our on our dashboard this fall, all of the high schools will have their academic data shared as well as their college readiness. So we definitely want to be proactive and making sure that we have the tools in place for the teachers, because it definitely, based on this year's data, we know that we have subgroups who need immediate support.
How successful has it been in the elementary schools? How long have we had this for the elementary school?
I believe 3 years. You know the history more.
This is our 3rd year.
3rd year. And how successful have we been in?
Again, with the schools who have used it with Fidelity, there's been significant growth and almost doubling the number of students who are reading at grade level.
that doesn't have anything to do with usage.
Well, it does in terms of on this particular program, if the more you use it and get the practice, the more progress that you're shown to make. And on some of the usage charts, it showed if you used it at least once a week or towards their targets, and the students who used it at the suggested amount of time, their growth was significantly higher than those students who maybe used it occasionally.
Okay.
And right now, we do know some students are already strong readers, so they maybe don't need to use it as frequently. But those who have deficits in the area of reading, the more they use it, the quicker their gap closes.
Okay, so we just did that whole adoption for ELA.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a support tool for that, or because they're saying they're down on their sword that new adoption is going to do exactly what this is supposed to be doing?
This would be more of a tier 2 intervention. The software that were the Lexia is at other sites used in conjunction with benchmarks. Actually, they even have a person who will come out and help our teachers understand how to use the Lexia data. Once you've done the regular classroom instruction and maybe some small group intervention with benchmark, and that still is not enough for students who are 1, 2, or 3 grade levels below, that's what this is designed for.
Okay, thank you.
Vice President Dr. Burke.
Thank you. So I was also looking at that fidelity report, and I see that, looking at the first chart, that the partial year of usage is more significant than the meeting usage. So it means to me, I think that there's a smaller number of students that the second chart is talking about, where there's significant numbers of increases at students meeting benchmarks in grade level 1 or 2 grades below. So I'm not sure. I get it, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much of a wow factor that is. So I think we are relying on report back and continuing to collect that data. But I also want to make sure, and I'm segueing to Ms. McCauley's comments, that I want to make sure that what we're saying to them is true, that we're not going to take away library funding.
We have found a way to incorporate both of these programs into our LCAP funding plan.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to entertain a motion.
You have to say that out loud.
For some reason, because it's so much money, it's almost $1 million. And we just did that adoption. I just don't. I'm not like completely sold on this product as something that I think we should spend $1 million on for 26 months. And this is just for 26 months, and it's $1 million.
But
So-
is the target for this those kids who need the extra intervention that are not going to be satisfied with the program that we just adopted? What resource are we going to have that's going to reach out and with data-driven results, give us the information we need to address those kids who need the reading intervention? We don't have anything else other than this, and this has been already in play for a few years. That's my understanding. Is that fairly accurate?
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
It is open for your votes. The motion passes unanimously.
The next meeting item is 15.4, hold a public hearing on the Circle of Independent Learning Charter Renewal Petition. Before I start the public hearing, I would like to apologize to the young students. Thank you for your patience to wait there for us to call this item. So the public hearing begins. How many public speakers do we have?
60 speakers.
60. All right.
Well, it may be less.
All right. So please call their names. Still 1 minute a person, 2 minute a group.
So I did go through the cards, and I did move up those that have marked that are students. So if I do not call your name, please feel free to come up if you are a student.
Can we get a for the purpose of the people who are maybe live streaming, can we get an overview of what we're trying to accomplish here from somebody before the speakers come up, please? Yeah, just a few something so that the public know what we're doing.
Yes. Could the superintendent introduce this item?
This is part of the renewal process for the COIL petition for their charter renewal. And as part of that process, we have to hold a public hearing, and then that public hearing stays open for 30 days. And then we hear the presentation in that next 30 days on the hearing. Mr. Parangao, any other details you want to add?
Yeah, so as mentioned, that this is part of the process. The goal tonight is to be able to hold a public hearing, and within 60 days from the date that the petition was submitted, that the board must make a decision whether the petition will be approved or denied. And therefore, there is a scheduled agenda for May 23rd to bring it back for the decision, even though that's not really completely 60 days, but that is within 60 days. And so we will be bringing this forward once again on May 23rd, and that at that time it would be for action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So clarifying, there's no action being taken tonight.
Correct. Today is only the public hearing.
Right. Yeah, that's the action, is the public hearing.
Lily Lane, Bethany Lane, Mark Mitholm, Keith Mills, Saeed Kasi, Arshdeep Pada, apologize, Ava Fontanilla, Chloe Hong, Kayla Villegas, Milo Thompson, Jacob Espinosa, Albion Cohn, Lucas and Valerie Silvera, Rebecca Chin, Logan Bennett, Nathan Holmes King, Aida Peng. That's it.
Hello? Okay. It's cool. Oh, is it on? Oh, the light? Okay. On the base. Oh, push. I forgot.
On.
I'm sorry, for the past few weeks because of your dedication in terms of how much amount of research that you put into. So it's not just the only teachers, but you guys all invested so much for the past weeks to hear the parents. I just want to recognize and thank you also for each one of you, especially the district staff who is keeping the line going.
Okay, so I want to highlight specifically that COIL is a school that is with full parent involvement. Each parent is a teacher. We're all fully involved. It is full of collaboration, individual instruction, learning without boundaries in terms of accessibility. Nobody fails at COIL because every student is able to access what is it that they're able to learn with individualized instructions. For example, even tonight, I can say tomorrow, this coming week, we're going to write a reflection piece on civic involvement, since my two students right here have sat through the entire process, and they will have a different appreciation of each piece of curriculum that goes through their hands, how many people labored behind the process to get that piece of information into their hands. And that is not going to be able to happen in a regular school setting. Thank you very much. Please renew the charter school status.
Thank you.
Good night, board members. My name is Arshdeep Pada. I'm a senior at COIL, and I just want to say the importance of COIL to me. I actually started off at Irvington High School. I was a varsity football player. I was part of the Cyber Patriot program, which is Air Force-funded cybersecurity program. And I was in IT, so I took a lot of technical classes. Come junior year, I actually went through a lot of personal problems, and that really made it difficult to cope with the rigid structure of most traditional high schools. So I was at a point where I really wanted to just drop out and start finding work until the faculty at Irvington sort of got me in contact with COIL. At that point, once I joined them at the beginning of 2017, I started working at retail, part-time, full-time. I started going to Mission Valley ROP. I started taking courses in software engineering. I'm actually certified in Python and web development right now. And I'm on full track to pursue a bachelor's in computer science. And that's really why...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ava Fontanella. I'm 12 years old. I'm in the 7th grade, and I'm here to speak to you about COIL Charter School. I've been at COIL for 2 years now, and I'm proud to say that since then, I've been able to continue my advanced courses and participate in fun hands-on classes that are offered. Those classes have encouraged me to take further participation in my interests in education outside of school. Now that I'm here at COIL, going back to regular public school is an option. I enjoyed this year a lot, and I'm looking forward to returning this August. Thank you.
The green light? Yes, it's on. Okay. Is that okay? Hi, my name is Liz Villegas. My daughter Kayla is a freshman at COIL, and we have been at COIL for 3 years. Our decision to enroll in an independent study program was not based upon Kayla struggling academically or socially. In fact, she was an honor roll on every year, and she was her vice president of the 6th grade student council. But in 5th grade, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And faced with this life-threatening chronic disease, it made her miss a lot of class time, instruction time. She was testing her blood sugar, she was treating lows, or attending doctor's appointments and lab visits. She would have to retake a test or make a makeup test because her blood sugar levels were not in range. And it just really affected her physically, emotionally, and mentally. It was very draining. COIL has given Kayla the ability to do her schoolwork around whatever issues that may arise with her type 1 diabetes. If she's having a low, she can stop and treat that and continue on with her studies without missing any instruction time. She can do PE when her blood sugars are in range, whether that's at 10 a.m. or 4 p.m. without missing or having to sit out, which she had to do at her traditional school. Her doctor's appointments and lab visits can be scheduled around her schoolwork and vice versa. Kayla has flourished at COIL. She's a 4.0 GPA, and she attends several on-campus classes. She loves participating in the school activities. She just participated in Collaboration Day, where the parents and students' voices are heard, and they talk about benefits that could be implemented in the school program. The staff is amazing. They're knowledgeable, accessible, and they're very supportive in providing the tools and access to these tools to help Kayla succeed. She recently met with a school counselor to plan out her future classes to make sure she stays on the UC and CSU track. When we first enrolled in Coyle, Kayla was planning on transferring back to her original school or home school to graduate. But after 1 year at Coyle, she now intends to stay and graduate at Coyle with the hopes of completing high school.
you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jacob Espinoza, and I've been at Coyle for about 8 years now. And all I can say about Coyle is that it's been a privilege to be here because the education has been at my pace personally. I have some trouble learning, and it made me know what I learn and what I'm capable of learning more. And it also helps me keep a good relationship with my mother since she can also help me with it. And I hope to be able to graduate next year in Coyle.
Thank you.
I'm up next. Hi everyone. I'm Lucas. So this is what I have to say, I guess. Coyle teachers are kind and find ways to help each kid learn using their own unique learning style. This is my second year at Coyle. Last year I had difficulty reading a word with 6 letters and also writing. This year I can read paragraphs and write sentences. All my Coyle teachers work together along with me and my parents to help me accomplish my goals. My Coyle teachers never give up on me. They also encourage me not to give up on myself either.
I'm Lucas's mom, Valerie. My son has challenges that affect his learning, his behavior, and his social interactions. In the short time that he's been at Coyle, his growth in academics, his social skills, his behavior skills, his willingness to trust teachers has been amazing. We're very thankful for the way Coyle teachers teach each student, and they don't set a limit to what a child can do. They do everything they can do to help a child succeed, and my son's a good example of that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca, and as a fellow student of Coyle, I am blessed to be at this school. Teachers here at Coyle have put their heart and soul into teaching the students here and to myself. And as of this school year, I have found a new love for writing. So I urge you to approve Coyle's charter for the upcoming times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chloe. I am 8.5 years old. I am in the 2nd grade. This is my first year at Coyle. I enjoy my first year a lot because I get to sleep longer. When I was in public school, I had to wake up early. Now I get to wake up late. My advisor is very nice. She understands my needs. I get to go to field trips. My mom and I like to visit different places. Once we visited the Exploratorium in San Francisco. We took a trip to Sacramento to visit the state capitol and the Tower Bridge. I get to meet new friends all the time too. I can meet them at different classes that I choose to take. I also get a lot of playtime, only if I finish my homework. That is why I like Coyle. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Logan Bennett, and I've been a Coyle student for 4 years. What I really like about Coyle is that I get to study and learn at my own pace. And if I need a little more time studying a subject, then I can do that and learn it till I get good. Another reason I like Coyle is that I have an advisory teacher that listens to me when I don't feel like something is working for me curriculum-wise. I also have more time to do other things like spending time on my hobbies, practicing music and sports. Next year, if I couldn't go to COIL, I would be really sad. I really think you should renew COIL's charter for next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Milo Thompson, and this is my second year at COIL. One thing I like about COIL is the advisory teachers, how they are helpful and supportive. I also like the environment at COIL. I do not like swearing or bad words, and they make me feel uncomfortable. I've noticed that COIL does not have as many swear words as other traditional settings that I have been in. I really like this environment. I also like the environment that COIL gives me to have good friends and to collaborate with others. I am very glad COIL is here for me as an option, and I am very glad that COIL runs. And so at this time, I'd like to respectfully request that you renew COIL's charter so that others can be influenced the same way I have and as my fellow students have. Thank you.
My name is Nathan Holmes King, and I am an 11th grader at COIL. This is my third year. I believe that COIL has enabled me to accelerate academics beyond what I would be allowed to do otherwise by letting me achieve academically at the highest possible level regardless of my age. I appreciate what COIL has enabled me to do academically, and I am looking forward to spending my senior year at COIL and then going to college. Thank you.
So, Ms. Sandoval, do we have any more students? Why I ask is that we definitely have to break this public speakers session into two parts because our break is gonna come in 5 minutes. So, just one more.
Hello. Is it on? Yeah. So, I started COIL my freshman year, and as soon as I got out of Horner, because public school, it wouldn't really work out for me. There was too many distractions for me to learn properly. And when I started COIL my first year, it wasn't really my choice, but and I started getting used to all the teachers. Everyone's very supportive and they're always there for you. They're listening. And I've never been to a school before where, my past schools, they had a couple good teachers, but I've never been to a school like COIL where all the teachers are great and supportive, and they won't give up on you, and they make sure you learn it, and so you have it down. And I think they have a really good support system there. And yeah, I mean, COIL is the best school I've been to, and I can't really imagine going back to public school. COIL is I like it so much, I can't. I mean, it's my favorite place.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to all you, and I would like to say that COIL has always had a positive effect in my life. I could study and learn at my own pace, and I would like to finish high school with COIL because I know that I can learn at my own academic level. So I would like to tell you guys that if you guys could renew their contract, so other kids can grow up and learn at their own level, and I also want to thank all the staff because they've been really helpful teaching me math, algebra. I never knew I was gonna learn math at my own pace, and I hope more kids could use COIL so they can grow at their own level. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will take a 10 minutes break and then resume our public speech at 11:25.